Any changes, comments, additions, or subtractions anything we'd like to make?
I move that we accept the minutes for November 14th, 2011 as presented.
Any seconds on that one?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, item number 6, old business. So obviously, item A on their conditional use application, the important information we just discussed a moment ago in the comments and correspondence is that yes, we can put time limits on conditional use permit for different uses. Not much more to say about that right now because we need to now go back and put that in the conditional use permit. Is there any objection to making sure it's in there? No. I don't think we ever actually voted to take it out. I'm going to think about it. Okay, that's about all there is to talk about on that issue. B, gravel pit inspection. I read through the earth excavation and reclamation ordinance today to get a better understanding of what needs to be done on that. Is anybody else interested in accompanying me to go on the inspection?
What day would it be?
Haven't made the date yet. We have to do 2 of them.
Would it be before the 20th or after the
I
20th?
have no idea. Not as of right now, but if you'd like, I'd be glad to give you a call and say when it's going to happen.
I would like to do that.
Sure.
I'd be interested as well if,
Sure.
if the schedule works out.
Let me just write that down. Okay, and I will email you as soon as I make plans. There's 2 different pits we have to visit. It's, of course, Ed Nason's pit, and then there's the Smiths. Is that the family? There's 2 pits in town, and that's it. So, my plan is to just pull up whatever documentation we have previous years just to understand what formal reporting we might have to do, if any, on that. It wasn't entirely clear in the zoning. Okay, National Flood Insurance Program. I've been trying to get a hold of the fellow who wrote that to us. His name is, hold on, what? My head. Chris Northrup. I wanted to talk to him before taking that issue to the next level, going to the town attorney and having her review the whole thing and costing a lot of money. I wanted to talk to this fellow, Chris Northrup, first to understand each of those changes that were suggested regarding the flood insurance program, where they come from. Is it strict legal basis? Is this, boilerplate language? What is this that we're looking at, these potential changes? I didn't want to go right to the attorney because it gets expensive, especially if you ask her to look over something. I mean, flood insurance program, federal stuff, I don't know what their experience is with that. Why spend the money on it before we even talk to this fellow, Chris Northrup? So that's where that stands at this point. And of course, we now have this as well that came in the mail, the final maps. I'll look to see if anything changed between the one that we received in the spring and now, but I kind of doubt it. Got to look at it anyway. So, and the last item there is consideration of zoning amendment proposal by alternate Rob Collins. You have anything on that this time?
Well, just to refresh everyone's memory, I made a presentation at the last meeting, and we had a short discussion afterward, and I think we talked about putting it on the agenda for tonight to see
for the special meeting, if there was going to be one. I assumed you'd want it on there, so I put it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that next steps would be, to understand whether the planning board wants to move forward with this proposal in any way. If not, that's fine, and we'll drop it. If they do, then I think the step would be to accept the language as a working document.
Okay.
And then make any changes that people are interested in making.
Do you think that we should start a committee to review this?
Absolutely not. It's too late, right? It's December now.
Yeah.
So if we want to, we had two years ago, we had
2 years ago.
a couple committees. Or 2 years ago and last year we had committees, and nothing ever happened. And so,
The rules and procedures for a while.
no, I'm sorry, we had committees about home occupations and commerce and things like that, right?
That was
Yeah.
obviously before my time.
Yeah, that year we had committees for everything. There's a lot of committees. Yeah. Now, I could have, were there any changes that were suggested last time? Did you want to revise it when you came back this time?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, can we just, let's take a minute to read through it again. It's in the draft, the approved minutes from last month, so.
So there's 6 proposed changes, Ron?
There's really, well, okay, so why don't I go over it real quick, if that's okay?
Please.
Just because a
Go
couple
ahead.
people maybe not been here. So as background, what I was attempting to do was clarify and the zoning around home occupations, make it more in line with the way things are today and the way we've been enforcing, the way we've been living with this, and try to make it more fair in a lot of ways. The way that our enforcement has been is that pretty much any kind of home occupation has been allowed, at least for the last few years. And there's a lot of controversy about what is a cottage industry, what's a, I don't know what the other terms are that are there for the trades and things like that. And so trying to clarify what is and isn't allowed and what conditions you have to meet in order to be a home occupation. So the idea is that I'm proposing to replace Article 2, A, RA1, A is RA1, 1 is permitted uses, B, which is the home occupations piece, with what's listed at the bottom of, I guess, the second page there. So basically allowing home occupations and home-based businesses subject to the following conditions, and then there's a list of conditions there. And then move, the second change would be to move the verbiage about home occupation related signs, move that from general provisions into the main part about home occupations. If you want me to go through in more detail, I'm happy to do that again. And how it's different from what's there today.
Can anybody think of a business here in town that is located on a property but wouldn't be a home occupation?
Oh, yeah.
Besides, of course, agriculture.
Well, I mean, there's got to be something.
Different,
I mean, yeah, there's agricultural ones.
But
There's.
that has a whole different definition.
How about the guy with the septic? I can't.
But he's not in town.
He's not operating out of his house.
He's in Wakefield, out of the industrial park, isn't he?
Yeah, he moved.
Yeah.
But he was in the past, right?
He was
Sure.
perhaps.
And I was just thinking about.
And I'm not sure that septic service is a cottage industry or a trade, but I think it's a perfectly acceptable home occupation, right? I mean, I think we
As
given.
long as it's a business run out of his house.
Well, as long as it's limited scope and doesn't harm the character of the area, I personally think that those kinds of things should be allowed.
However.
But I'm not trying to talk about.
And our selectmen have allowed
Right.
that to happen, and I think that that's the way we've been living, and I think that that's not unreasonable, and I've tried to capture that and try to codify what we've been doing, because I think it's been working out pretty well.
The reason I asked was just simply because of the thing of moving the signs out of general provisions into the home occupation is if we had somebody who had a business that wasn't considered a home occupation, you'd still want to have some sort of restriction on a sign, because if you take that out, put it under home occupations, do we still have the coverage? I suppose we would, because it's still RA1, isn't it? I mean, do we suddenly change things so that...
So the verbiage in general provisions right now is persons who conduct home occupations shall be allowed one signboard no greater than 6 square feet to advertise activities conducted on the premises. the sign may be two-sided. So that doesn't address, it already doesn't address a sign advertising a farm or a farm stand,
You're
right?
right.
It's
No.
specific, that sentence is specific to home occupations.
Yep, I'm
So-
sorry.
But that's
Should've
maybe,
read more carefully.
but that may be a hole in our zoning, right? I mean, can a farm have
A
a
billboard?
giant billboard? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that our zoning may allow that.
Could be argued.
Two comments. Do you want to describe the characteristics of a sign? In other words, are you allowed to illuminate it with neon? Or is it going to be a static, whatever?
The signs are talked about in more detail in the general provisions.
And it's covered?
Yes.
Okay.
It can't, if I recall, it cannot be neon and it can't be illuminated.
Okay.
It can be illuminated.
Yes.
I reacted to external storage of occupational equipment for the home tradesman. Does that mean his trucks have to be screened from view from the abutters when he parks in his drive?
So,
That wouldn't be a.
That's not equipment.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a fixed thing. It's similar to a lot of sign rules in other towns where you can't have a fixed sign, but if your truck's out there and happens to have your company name and phone number
He's
on
talking
it,
about
it's
equipment.
movable.
I changed the
but
topic.
you just meant as far as having a truck, where he parks his truck, it really shouldn't matter. His heavier equipment would be more specific. You might want to specify that. But as far as parking a truck in your driveway, it has to be seen by the right of way.
That's what I'm
Excluded
saying,
from
maybe we
that.
want to rework that, because when I read that, I said, here's a tradesman that parks his truck,
Yeah.
and I see external storage of occupational equipment that's viewable from the road.
okay, so the existing zoning, regard to that, says, external storage of occupational equipment and supplies will be screened from view, either by fencing or dense vegetation. And so you actually, if the selectmen decided that somebody's truck was part of their occupational equipment and supplies, that today they would have to build a fence or plant dense vegetation and put their truck behind it. Whether or not it was viewable from the street, I think, right?
What
So
I'm suggesting is that these words be changed. I think it should be allowed, but I think we're setting ourselves up for someone to say, this says you're not allowed to do it.
Well, you could easily put in something like legally registered personal conveyances, something of that nature, are exempt from.
But isn't it that way now?
It's regularly assumed. I don't think it's written anywhere. I haven't seen anything, exactly referencing personal conveyances.
There's a person here in town who had a large piece of equipment who shared a story with me. This piece of equipment was viewable from the road, and it was kind of an oddball thing, and he used to have it registered so that it would be legally registered so that he didn't have to screen it.
Yeah.
So that person,
Going around the edges of that. But,
So I think my response would be that the problem you're asking about is a problem today in our existing zoning. If we wanted to make a zoning change, we certainly could and should think about other changes and clarifications that would answer these, it's a fairly common question, right? I know Wakefield had a big stink about the construction equipment the last couple of years, right? And so, I'm personally open to whatever clarifications this board thinks would be relevant and important to make. And I think my only point is that the point you're bringing up is an existing problem, and that's not a problem that I tried to fix in this rewrite. But we could, right? I think that's my point.
Fine. I understand.
You might also want to check into what the state code is, and we could also reference that, because I believe state code is, marked vehicles can be parked where they don't need to adhere to the same regulations as signage. So that might have some reference to it.
Yeah, I think you want to let the person park in the drive.
I don't disagree.
That's where I'm coming from.